episode 377 of 5 Star Potential, your weekly go-to Football Manager podcast. My name is Dave, and alongside me today, it's brilliant to welcome back Mr. Mad FM. Mad, how you keeping, man?
Good, yeah, good to be back. I was obviously off for last couple of weeks. Sadly, lost my mum a couple of weeks ago, so it's been a bit of a tough time, but that's kind of part of life, really, isn't it? So yeah, good to be back though, and I've actually in a bit of the downtime since I've been playing a bit of Football Manager. So
that's good, man. Good to hear.
It's a long time since I was able to talk about Football Manager on this Football Manager podcast. So it'll be nice to have something to talk about, Dave, won't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's good to have you back. Obviously, there's been loads happened. Obviously, since you've sort of been gone with Football Manager 25, so we'll get your take on that as well.
Yes.
And of course, we had Tom FM on last week, so big thanks to Tom. We've got lots of guests lined up for the future episodes. Lots of exciting things in the community, and if there is anything that you guys want to flag up to us that's happening in the community, maybe we've missed it, whether it's a blog, whether it's a database that's out there, whether it's a new piece of content, let us know, because we'd love to talk about it. We'd love to check it out, maybe get the people on that are involved with that content, because it's always nice to hear about new things. Mad, obviously, other than what's been going on, how you been keeping the last few days? You still been studying, or you had a bit of time off that recently?
Well, I was off actually. I wasn't really in university or anything because obviously everything that happened. So trying to catch up a little bit. So, like I've only been in there 2 months and I'm already behind. So nobody's surprised about that. But slowly catching it up. But busy week. Couple of games. Newcastle played Chelsea twice. Lost one, and then we had a great win last night, which was that's my winner of the week, I think.
Yeah. Good.
Actually put in a really good performance. You know, like I know Chelsea rotated a lot, but the depth they have, the options they have, the players they have, like their
second 11's could be.
It's crazy, man. They had World Cup winner Enzo Fernandez playing in the midfield. He's 100 million. So I don't see, if Chelsea fans are clinging on to the fact that they're rotated, nobody's buying it, I'm afraid. But yeah, it was a cracking win for Newcastle, and in the quarterfinals now, got Brentford at home, so
it's a winnable
potential
game,
for another semi.
Yeah. No, that'd be nice. I like the sort of the. I don't want to say the teams don't take the cup seriously, because they do. But I think if you're a Premier League side, I think everyone can compete with everyone. I think as soon as City are out, for argument's sake, now I think it's anyone's to win, really. So fingers crossed for you. But I mean, who did we lose to? Brighton, we lost to, and I don't know if they're still in it now. But we've got Palace this weekend. Wolves still searching for their first win. By the time the pod is out, Gary O'Neill may even be gone as a manager, because I think if we do lose this weekend, I think he's got to go, and obviously that'll be an interesting talking point. I'm sure. And obviously Dupe's not here. He's over in Kenya for a wedding. It looks amazing what he's doing in between, to be fair. He went on a safari today. But of course Ten Hag was sacked, so I'm sure we'll hear maybe a bit about that next week, and maybe link that in with Football Manager as well.
I feel like Dupe is just too badly behaved to be on a safari. I feel like he'd just be winding up the zebras or something. Yeah.
He said he put some stuff on his Instagram, and he sent me a couple of bits as well. But yeah, he's asked me to do a graphic.
He hasn't been eaten by a lion or anything yet.
No, he's still alive for now. Yeah, I need to sort something out for him. Actually, he asked me to do something, so that's reminded me about that as well. But yeah, Wolves, we need a win. I've been playing I still play a bit of football every now and then, but for some reason my knee, and I know this is ridiculous with how probably younger I am compared to some of the listeners, but I was talking to my girlfriend about it today. My knee is so sore, but I only play in goal, so it's not like an impact or running about injury. But yesterday I did concede a goal, to be fair, and I went down, I just couldn't get up, and it's really sore now, so I might have to retire.
Old age, Dave. Welcome to the club.
I might have to retire. And then also, Halloween, as of today at the time of recording, Mad, so spoilers, we're recording on Halloween, and I've got a Halloween party tomorrow. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it at all, but music icons, who do you reckon I'm going as?
Music icons.
To be fair, I don't know if you know my taste of music, like in terms of iconic artists. I don't know if you know. This is like everyone's gonna be like, what? Such a guilty pleasure.
I'm picturing Dave dressed as like Nicki Minaj or something here.
Oh my word! No. Icon. No. I'll tell you now. It's Elvis, Mad. Elvis. And
you're going with Elvis.
Yeah, I love it. All right. Okay. This is a YouTube exclusive. So sorry if you are listening. Very quickly, I love a bit of Elvis. So that's my guilty pleasure. But I've tried several wigs on. I've got the jumpsuit. Like it's the part. Like serious the part. I've tried several wigs on. I've not been happy with any of them, and I've just purchased some sunglasses and the wig. It needs a bit of work there, but on the camera there, look, it won't quite focus in. But you can see there, man. So, gonna look the part.
Dave. Who are? I've only been gone for a few weeks, David. You've completely lost the plot.
We'll have to see what's going on. But yeah, I'm at work the day after, so we'll have to see. It might be, might have to be a quiet one in the end. But nevertheless, lots going on. But Mad, like you've said, Football Manager, we'll leave the save updates for a short while. But FM25, obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that FM25 has been delayed. Now until March of next year. Me and Duba spoke about it extensively. We had Tom FM on last week. I'm sure we'll get other people on as well to explain and give their points of view as well. But Mad, with the most sort of recent communication we had off Football Manager was one of the big questions was licensing. Why can't they either release FM25 or release a big, release FM25 with certain things missing, or release FM24 with a big database? To be fair, it sounds like FM did their work and tried to make it happen, but it was very, very unlikely, I think, with licensing, as we know before. But what's your stance on it? Because, a lot of upset people in the community, but I think there's a lot of people sort of in our shoes, the content creator side of things, that are sort of thinking, we don't want a broken game. We're happy to wait to some degree.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? We've had editions of Football Manager in the past, going back over many years, that have come out flawed or have had fundamental issues with them. And the worst thing for me that could happen is if they did kind of try to release it prematurely, let's say. I mean, it's shit that it's late, right? I'm sure they're not happy about it. I'm sure there's a lot of financial impacts for them as well, as much as anything. But if it did release in a not good, not perfect state, and everybody starts brand new saves, everybody's super excited. You've got obviously the content creators, we've got full timers doing this, but even just down to the average player, if you start a new save and you get 6 months in, or you get really stuck into it, and then you find out something's fundamentally wrong, that's the save's ruined. And that's, I think, at the end of the day, it sucks that we have to wait, but we can wait. I know a lot of the discourse really is, what's the point in dropping FM25 in May, or towards the end of a season? No one's going to buy it, but I think people are definitely going to buy it. But like I said, if that's what it takes to get a proper good game, then we have to suck it up and deal with it. And I think what it has done is given people a bit more of a lease of life for FM24, because I think a lot of people probably would start to kind of wind down off it. Let's say when you get to, usually when the new season starts in real life, right? So you're looking at kind of August. You're like, there's only 2-3 months left, myself included. I hadn't played properly since about July. Yeah. And I've started a new save now because we have a lot more time with FM24. Good. And so at the very least, we're getting more value out of the money we spent on FM24. And yeah, if it does mean that the FM25 is as good as it can be when it comes out, then what's the worst thing that can happen? A few more months to wait. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, I know. It's it's interesting times. It sounds like, I sort of, on the episode we did with Dupe, I sort of, the optimistic part of me thought maybe they can try and bring it out a little bit earlier, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's very much the plan to get it out in March, and I am excited for it. But like you said, I've already seen really intriguing people that struggle to get into the game all of a sudden really into the game. I use Benji as an example. He got into the game and he's still smashing out the streams and so on. There's pieces of content which you mentioned, Hood, who we haven't managed to get him out on the podcast yet. He's been, we've been trying to get him on, but he's just released a brand new series, which I'm sure we'll try and get him on to talk about in the near future as well, which in terms of production value is phenomenal. And hopefully, although we have got this bit of time, we'll start to see from a content creation side of things, some of the best and I think it gets better and better by like a serious amount every year anyway, Mad. But in terms of content creation, I hope this gives people a new lease of life to try different things, to try different ways of making content, to try different ways of entertaining people, and to try different ways of playing the game as well. But I think we'll be okay. We've got there are people disappointed, and like I said last time, I'm intrigued to see how they can get the roadmap back on plan in terms of future releases as well, because you can't release the game in March every year. It just isn't going to work. If it's March and then maybe December of 2025 as well, and then sort of slowly but surely get it back to normal. But it's difficult time for people at SI as well, I'm sure.
But yeah.
Yeah, and I know they mentioned, because a lot of people were like, why can't you just do a date update in FM24 or whatever? And there's they did, to be fair, they did that tweet. They did explain there's a lot of licensing issues among other things as to why they can't do that. But as we all know, the community is incredible. There's databases out there that are regularly updated on all the different websites, whether it's FM Scout or FM Inside or Sorted Out SI. And that's what I've done. I just downloaded a database from the community that's up to date and rocked on a new save. So yeah, as I said, it's not the end of the world. And hopefully then it'll be worth it when we get to March. I hope the game is that good that people will forget.
I think
they had to play it for 6 months,
I don't know if you've seen it, but Sorted Out SI are like charging now for a database, or they were.
I saw that. Yeah,
so
yeah,
that was.
yeah,
I think to be fair to them,
I saw that, yeah.
I think to be fair, they used to and they have done historically charge for like a premium account anyway, which is. It's not so much, you don't see it so often now, fee, but but that's for faster and unlimited downloads and stuff like that. But I'm sure I saw now they were charging a set fee or something. I may be wrong, just for the update.
They were. No, you're right. They were charging. I think it was like five quid or something for that database, but there was a lot of talk online.
I think there's something
that might get them in trouble. So
I think there's some T's and C's in the Sports Interactive or Football Manager thing that you can't charge for add-ons or charge for edited data or something like that. So. I don't know.
Tread carefully.
Yeah, exactly. But there's plenty out there, and there's loads of people that have spent hours and days on these custom databases. Dupe had used one for our network save, which has worked really well, and no real update on that, obviously, because the last time we played it was when we did the last pod, and Dupe's been away since. So I'm sure we'll try and get a few sessions in before the next pod as well. I don't know if you
people can also it's a good time to try something like the Mad Scientist stuff. Some of the retro databases are also pretty cool if you're fed up of FM, or if you don't want to if you're kind of bored with FM24. You go and download I think he did a 2007 2008 one at the top of my head.
Yeah, he's done I think he does one every year, but I think there was going to be maybe a future topic on the podcast, to be fair. I was just going to see, because I saw he was talking to somebody on social media. I don't know if it was like a mid-90s one that he was looking to bring out this year.
Okay. We'll have to get him on the pod, Dave.
Definitely, yeah. I know he's a big part of the content creation team now. I was just going to see. I can't see which one he's going for this year, but I'm sure I saw mid-90s said on his social. So if there is one, there you go. The 94-95 database will be released for FM24, and he posted that about 2 weeks ago. So that'll be interesting. Okay. That's a little bit before my time, man.
The league,
yeah, that's a bit before my time.
But on the league.
Yeah, but in terms of players, there's going to be some, huge, classic names on there. But that's definitely one that we should talk about. Maybe we'll maybe get him on before the release, and that'd be a really cool one to go with. We'll. Lots to talk, obviously, about FM25, and I'm sure we'll all hear and maybe talk more about it throughout this episode as well. But, Mad, you've alluded to a new save. Obviously, like I've said already, me and Dupe, no update from us. But talk to us. Like, where have you ended up? Of course, now this gives you no excuse. You've got to get a few seasons in, and you've got to also win a Champions League to spite Dupe.
Oh, let's not go down that road again. It's fine to talk about while he's not here, but I'm not going to bring that up when he comes back.
He'll be listening.
I want obviously I was off there for a little bit, so, and when shit things are happening in life, you kind of want to stick your head into something and distract. So I opened Football Manager again, seeing as I said, we've got a lot more time with FM24. I hadn't really had the appetite, because I like everybody, I was like, oh well, it's too close now to FM25. There's no point starting anything new. So I just wanted to open a save and start a save that I could just get stuck into and smash it out and actually enjoy the game again, because it had been a while. I was doing all the Regionair stuff, which was just it's a slog. There's a lot of admin. It's just so difficult.
It's difficult, yeah.
That makes it really tricky. So I guess I was looking back on some of the saves I've done in the past, like the one at Angers where I was doing all the homegrown kind of rules. I did a really good save in Germany a few years ago where I was just trying to do a whole Irish kind of a theme, Irish influence.
Yeah.
And basically I landed back in Spain, and I went and took over Deportivo La Coruña, who in real life I believe just got promoted to the second tier. So they were actually down in the third tier. Now this is Deportivo La Coruña. I'm sure everybody remembers, like they won the league in 99-2000, I think. Pretty much like the last team to win the league in Spain, you know, outside of the big ones, them and Valencia, I suppose. And they've just had such a fall from grace. So it's definitely been done before, but what I've done is I've just kind of gone in, no real rules or anything like that. The vision of the club is to sign players under the age of 23, so that naturally kind of fits in with
Nice.
you know how we like to play FM. And just for good measure, I am trying to push a bit of an Irish agenda, bringing in a load of Irish staff and actually signing as many Irish players as possible. But I'm not stuck to it or anything like that.
I like that.
And doing a bit of like buy low, sell high as well if I can, because you know we're not going to be able to keep really good players. You know, their good players are going to move on, and really just trying to like unearth signings, find players that I'm not really familiar with or not heard of before, who potentially could turn into like worldies and obviously get sold for a lot of cash. Cash is something Deportivo La Coruña do not have at the start of this game. I think my budget was about $1 million, maybe million and a half, something like that, which is very low really. So yeah, just sticking with that whole idea of a bit of nostalgia, you know, kind of just remembering why I enjoyed playing the game. So I went straight out and signed 2 players I've signed in previous FM saves. So I got a player on loan, Mohamed Ali Cho.
Yeah.
You might remember we spoke about him before. He's the guy, he's basically French. I think he was born in London. And I remember we had somebody tweeting me or tweeting the pod account that they went to school with Mohamed Ali Cho.
Crazy.
So got him on loan from Nice. Really good player for this league, for this level as well. And then I signed a midfielder called Luca Connell, who was once at Celtic. Yeah. I think it's Bolton or Barnsley. I think I signed him from Barnsley or Bristol. I think it was Barnsley.
I think Bolton.
He's obviously Irish as well.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I had him in that save in Germany at Greuther Fürth. He was really, really good. He's kind of like a left-footed centre midfielder. So brought him in. And then you love this, Dave. I come across a centre-back I'm familiar with. He's half Irish, half Spanish. Nice. And I'm sitting there managing in Spain. I was like, I have to bring this guy in. His name is Anselmo Garcia McNulty.
It's like the McAllister brothers,
completely out there. Yeah. No, not like that. So, but he's actually pretty good for the second tier of Spain. I signed him from. He was at. I think he was at Getafe at one point, like RL, and he moved to Holland, to Netherlands. Sorry, to PEC Zwolle. But I signed him basically for like $1 million, with half of it paid up front. But he's 6'2". He's a left-sided centre back, and he's just like he's kind of all round. Like 12 for tackling, 12 for marking, 12 for everything really. Like double figures across the board for all his physicals, all his mentals and technicals. And just a spoiler, after a full season, he scored like 8 goals as a centre back. He's a beast on corners, getting up for back post headers and things like that. So that was always good fun. And then just looking at players that were already there. Randomly, Charlie Patino plays for Deportivo La Coruña. Do you know Charlie Patino that was at Arsenal?
Permanent or there?
On a permanent, yeah. Oh, so he actually joined there. He went there on a free transfer after he was on loan at Blackpool, I think.
He did really well at Blackpool.
So,
I understand he did quite well at Blackpool. He started well there, definitely.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal fans are quite disappointed.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was there. I was surprised to find him there, really. And he's quite good. Like, he was valued at about €3 million or something like that. But definitely good enough for this team, this league. And then, you wouldn't know too many of the existing players there. Like Lucas is there. He used to play for Arsenal. Lucas Perez. I don't know if you remember him.
Striker.
He played for Arsenal at one point. Yeah, he's about 33 now.
Yeah.
But he's quite good. And they have a couple of good young players.
Was he at West Ham as well at one point? Am I making that up?
I think he was. I think he went after Arsenal,
Yeah.
So not too bad. And then there's a Moroccan striker up front. He's quite good. He actually started the season really well. Of course, he got injured, but I'll come back to that. And as I said, we loaded up on all the Irish staff, head of youth development, assistant manager, coaches, scouts, because I love the idea of trying to get an Irish new gen through in like a foreign club. So we're going to see if that happens. But again, spoiler alert, Dave, it didn't happen in the first youth intake, but more to follow hopefully on that. I remember doing this in Germany, and it took 9 seasons before I got an Irish player come through. So it's a bit of luck of the draw, but I always like to.
I don't know what I did, or I can't remember. But when I did a say with Chelsea. I reckon it was FM. It's 10 or 11 years ago, I reckon. So it would have been FM. I would say FM 2014 or 15 is a safe bet. And I managed Chelsea. And after 3 or 4 years, I had my manager as Maltese. I was having a couple of really good Maltese new gens come through. I've never ever had it since. But to be fair, I always put my manager as English nowadays. But I might try that again now because it's quite cool, quite niche sort of thing.
It's because it is a thing. Like I've had it before. I remember I did a save last year in Milan. Yeah. And I didn't sign any Irish staff. There was no agenda. I was down as Irish, of course. first youth intake came through and there was an Irish player in there in the middle of Italy. So, it's kind of, maybe it's luck of the draw, but yeah, I always like the idea of trying to bring through, especially if they're good as well, or like a wonder kid or whatever. So basically, yes, I've done a season. I smashed through a season already, and another little secret, Dave, I've written a blog post about it because I actually was enjoying it so much. I know. Bit of a throwback, making content.
Yeah.
But like I never planned to. I never really had an agenda what to say about it. I was like, I just want to play. I just really want to enjoy it. But the season went. It was both enjoyable and eventful that I was like, I need to document this. I need to write this down and actually talk about it because loads of shit happened. Like, we literally started the season. We lost 3-1, of course, because we brought in a few different players. The dynamics are all over the place. What happens, Dave? Our Brazilian goalkeeper, who was actually really, really good for the level that we're at, cruciate ligaments, 8 months, gone. And the second choice goalkeeper in Dave Azzopardi language was Gash.
Oh, God.
So literally lost our goalkeeper. So again, I mentioned that I was doing a lot of like scouting obscure leagues, trying to kind of find bargains here and there. And yeah, the replacement, Dave, a 6'4" Bulgarian goalkeeper signed from Slavia Sofia.
Wow.
For about $1 million, because I sold a couple of players as well, so I managed to bring him in for about $1 million, with about half it paid up front. But he's like, again, we won't bother putting the profile up. His name is Svetoslav Vutsov, Vutsov.
That's a proper Bulgarian.
But again, he's proper Bulgarian, like he's a beast. I'm kind of looking at him. I mean, it's a different country, obviously, but he's like a bit of a Mamardashvili kind of vibes going on.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Down in La Coruña. And like, just from his attributes, I mean, he's obviously huge, but like he's just got really, like, again, it's double figures across all the main attributes you'd want to see. 14 aerial reach, 14 kicking, which is great for sweeper keeper, 16 rushing out, and then he's kind of like 13s, 12s for all the rest of it. So yeah, really happy with him. He actually had a really good season and stayed first choice even when the other Brazilian fella came back. I ended up selling him because a club came in, actually a Brazilian club came in with a bit of money for him. And what else happens? Our Moroccan striker, Mohamed Bouldini, his name is. He was already there when I took over. He started incredibly well, scored 6 goals in 6 games. And then he got injured for 2 months, which kind of set things back. So that's kind of the bit of a theme there. But I did sign a young striker on loan called Jovan Zivkovic. I think he's a little bit of a wonder kid. He actually got named in the next gen 50 in the game in the first season. He was like number 34 or something. So yeah, we'll take that. And it was a really weird season as it went. A lot of, like, we would win, then we would lose, then we would win, then we would lose. It was just like that for all the way up until kind of January. Like, no consistent form whatsoever. And by the time we kind of hit the turn of the year, I think it was like we were 10th or 11th, and there was no, like, the media prediction was like 12th or something because they're relatively newly promoted, let's say. So there was no real expectations. But I was still a bit disappointed because I'm playing a 4-2-3-1. Using a similar tactic to what I had at Milan last year. So it's got 2 defensive midfielders, Segundo Volante alongside like an anchor man. And I could, as I'm watching these games, like, we're completely in all these games. Even if we'd lose, we're completely in the game. Statistics, like, we would have the same number of shots on off target, similar possession, but just couldn't really win games. Or couldn't win them consistently. Like I said, we would win one and draw one, and then we'd lose again, then we'd win again, then we'd lose. A lot of over and back. And then I don't know what happens in January, but we took a really, really positive turn, let's say, coming into January, February. Had a really good cup run in the Copa del Rey. Now, we were in the first round of the Copa del Rey. We ended up drawing against, like, I think it was 3 La Liga sides in the first kind of 4 rounds, let's say. So I think I beat someone like Levante, and then we had to play Villarreal, we had to play Atletico Madrid and Sevilla or someone like that. And I think it was Atletico Madrid that ultimately knocked us out. But I managed to beat Sevilla and Villarreal in that cup. We beat Villarreal 5-1, which was kind of mad. So that was a really nice cup run because I think we got to the quarter-final in the end, or maybe the round before that, maybe it was the last 16. And then, yeah, I mean, you're not beating Atletico Madrid anyway, that's for sure. Got fucking Julian Alvarez in that squad. It's crazy. No, and then, yeah, I didn't really want to change too much from the tactic. I knew the tactic looked good for me. Everything I was seeing in the match engine, I was quite happy with. A couple of individual performances could be better. So the only real change I made was I noticed that we're kind of like giving the ball away quite a fair bit at times. So I just lowered the tempo. in game, because I'm playing it with relatively fast highlights, so it doesn't really feel like the tempo is low when they're racing around on the screen. But that did seem to make a difference in terms of like just keeping the ball and working better phases up the pitch and all that kind of stuff. March comes. We lost the first game in March. At this point, as I said, we're mid-table. Lost 2-1 away to Granada. We then went and we won 11 games in a row. And this never happens to me. So whether it was the slight tweaks of the tactic, I mean, that striker came back from injury. That Boldini guy, he started banging the goals. Mohamed Ali Cho started banging the goals. And I just started keeping some more clean sheets. This Bulgarian keeper started getting a lot of man of the match awards. He ended up second for clean sheets in the division. Nice. And by the time we got to, let's say, the end of May, with like 2 or 3 games left, we'd absolutely ran up the table, smashed into the playoff spots, and we're sitting in third with about 2 games to go. Ooh. So now it was Almeria and I think it was Sporting Gijon were the 2 teams at the top kind of battling it out for the automatic places, and I was too far behind to get an automatic place basically. So I knew we were going to get playoffs, and we ended up with 1 game to spare, sealing basically third. So I was able to kind of rotate and rest some players. So yeah, we finished third in the league, well in the playoff spots. Again, no expectations. Definitely not ready to get promoted. No money. You know, the players' quality decent, but not amazing. I think
second tier teams are never ready to get promoted, are they? Teams in the
championship
always say that when they're losing the playoffs. But like, you know,
yeah, exactly. And you can see it. You see what happens. Yeah, you see what happens when they get promoted. So we went into the playoff round, and I mentioned a bit of nostalgia. Who did we draw in the playoffs? Tenerife, another team. The first team I managed when I started writing the blog about Football Manager was Tenerife. So naturally a bit of nostalgia and narrative there. So we come to play Tenerife, and this is where another wild thing happens, Dave. 3 of my players get called up for the Euros, and the Euros start before the playoffs. So one of those players is the Bulgarian goalkeeper, because somehow Bulgaria have managed to qualify. And I've already sold the Brazilian guy, you'll remember.
Oh, I was going to say, is he not back from injury now?
Back to the guy, second choice keeper, yeah. Oh, man. And this is even more random. Mohamed Ali Cho, who's playing in the second tier of Spain with me on loan from Nice, gets called into Didier Deschamps' France squad, the final 26. Can't understand it all. Now he's valued at about 40 million euros because he's technically a league on player. But I guess it was just he played so well in the second half of the season. Somehow he's managed to land in the squad alongside Mbappe and Dembele.
Yeah, surely there'd be enough quality that he gets picked ahead of him, but nah.
It's crazy. So he's gone for the playoff as well. And then I mentioned that young striker Jovan Zivkovic. He's Austrian. He's kind of like my backup striker. He definitely, he'd come on for the last 15, 20. He got called up with Austria as well. So we're losing 3 kind of fairly key players going into the playoffs, which I just can't believe it's a thing. Naturally, I go and look at Tenerife, and they haven't got a single player called up to the Euros or any tournament at all. So they're at full strength. Typical. First game comes along in Tenerife. We scored after a minute. They beat us 3-2 in the first leg of the playoff. So 3-2, away from home. I'm kind of thinking we'll get them in the return leg. That's exactly what we did. A 94th minute winner from Anselmo Garcia McNulty, my half Spanish, half Irish defender. He rose like a salmon and smashes it in the net, and that sends us through into the playoff final. So that's the second round. Then we're going to the second round of the playoffs, and we're playing Racing Santander. Mm-hmm. This went a lot more straightforward. We beat them 3-1 in their place, nice. And then we beat them 3-0 in our place. So it was actually 6-1 in aggregate. Good. McNulty scored again in that second game as well.
Are these offset pieces?
We got promoted, Dave.
Oh, good. Offset pieces?
Mostly corners, yeah.
Nice.
So that win, that 6-1 aggregate win, got us back into La Liga completely unexpectedly. Promoted back to the top tier in Spain, having finished third in the league. Bearing in mind now, in January I was like 11th and everything was a bit miserable. And then somehow we just went on that complete run. I was waiting for it to click, and I just felt like it was going to happen, so I didn't really want to change too much. And it just kind of took, even though there was injuries here and there and players going off to the Euros and doing all this kind of mad shit. 11 games in a row got us into the playoffs and promoted to La Liga for season 2, where I am currently. I'm about, I think I've just gone past Christmas, but I'll save that update. I'll do a full season on the next pod maybe. Went up, wrote a blog. I'm actually looking at it now. The blog should be live by the time we put out the pod.
Yeah, I'll make sure.
Yes, indeed. And we also, Dave, had our youth intake. Now, as I said, there was no Irish players in it. Unfortunately, they were all Spanish. I got the standard message to tell me that this is going to be a golden generation. I got the standard message that's going to say it's an excellent intake, 5 stars. The preview showed that I had 2 A-rated players in the group, a centre back and a forward. No sign of that centre back, because when the actual intake came through, there was only one pretty decent player. His name is Guillermo. He's 15, and he's a striker basically. Looking at his attributes, he's got 15 first touch, 15 technique, 14 determination, 11 finishing, 13 off the ball, 10 composure, 14 decisions, pace 10, acceleration 10. Like, I think, for 15 it's pretty good for this level as well, so there might be a bit of a player there. But yeah, more work to be done on the youth intake front, or on the academy front. So I'm going to try and kind of get some funds and start to bring up those facilities as well. And we got to go into La Liga now. We get to go and play Real Madrid and Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. And the news item I got just after we got promoted, the board have set the initial wage budget for the coming season at 230k per week, and the transfer budget at 8 million. So I am getting promoted with 8 million to spend on players. So something's going to have to give, and probably have to make some sales and stuff. I think I'm going to get some good money for Charlie Patino. I've got a couple of Premier League players sniffing around him. I think Burnley got promoted there. I could see they were interested in him. So I reckon I could probably get upwards of about 10 million for him if I'm lucky. And depending on who else I can sell, basically, or else I can bring in. But probably going to have to be a lot of loans as well. Newcastle sacked Eddie Howe, so there's that happened in this Save universe, and they hired Thomas Tuchel because it was before I started the Save before he went to England. So there's that. And Dave, I hate to break it to you, but Wolves got relegated.
It's so weird with Wolves. It must be these updated databases, like me and Duke spoke about last week. Wolves are absolutely diabolical on our network save, and somehow they plucked 4 wins in the last 6 at the end of the season to stay up. But they were just awful, and I don't get why. Obviously, I'm not saying they're the best team in the league, but on FM they've got some great individuals.
Especially when you know the guy who does all the attributes for the Wolves players.
Or maybe I'm just too harsh on the Wolves players. Yeah, maybe I'm just too harsh.
Maybe you are, Dave. Maybe.
No Adama as well, mate. That's the issue there. Adama tax.
That's what happened. Yeah. Because you had Adama was so OP for years because of Dave as a party, folks. Just so you know.
Yeah, he still is now. I saw.
Still is. Yeah. He still has 20. I think he's still got 20 for pace or acceleration, hasn't he?
Yeah, he must. He's rapid, to be fair. Yeah, a Deportivo IRL mad. That's really struggling. I don't know if you've seen.
Definitely.
Bottom 3.
It was one of the reasons. It was one of the reasons they kind of caught my attention. I was listening to another podcast as well, and someone was speaking about them, and I went, "Ooh, let's have a look there." Because you remember. Maybe you were a young man, Dave, but back in the late 90s, early 2000s, they had Diego Tristan and Jalminia and Roy Mackay and Fran, all these kind of guys, Victor, and they got to the Champions League semi-final the year Porto won it. I think Porto beat Deportivo in the semi-final when Marino won it. Yeah. So 20 years later, and they were in the 3rd tier. It's kind of a bit of a fall from grace. So it's always kind of good
what was their reason? Was it financial or just?
Yeah, just badly ran, and just sold all their players. It's a big old club, but just bad management, I would say, from all aspects. Which you seen that happen at clubs like Schalke.
Wolves went down to the 3rd division as well. To be fair, I mean, not obviously we haven't come close to winning the league or anything in the last sort of 20, 30 years, but. You're saying Champions League for 5 consecutive seasons throughout the early 2000s, quarterfinals twice, semi-finals in 2004. So I love the name of their ground.
And now I've managed to blag my way into La Liga with them, with a team half full of Irish random players.
How do you pronounce their stadium? Just Riazor.
It's the Riazor, Estadio Riazor. I think it's like Razor, Riazor. Yeah,
it's a nice ground as well. That is, to be fair.
Might have to look at getting a kit if this save has legs. But yeah, I'm well into season 2 already. I have actually signed some players, but I'll keep that for next week. I'll finish the season and we'll do.
What's the goal? What's the end goal then, Matt? Just to take. Is there a real goal, or just Champions League, or what's
I think that my main goal from a personal perspective is to not want to stop playing the game and the save, if that makes sense. Like I just want to keep playing it. So as of now, I'm still hooked on it. Yeah, obviously getting back up to like competing with the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona is going to be so hard. Like I'm going up with 8 million in my budget, and they've got Mbappe and Jude Bellingham. So it's a lot to try and compete with those boys, but. Maybe like a best of the rest kind of a thing, kind of.
Yeah, for sure.
You're looking at Real Sociedad or Athletic Club Bilbao, or
I think you could probably get
Valencia.
to where Atletico Madrid are at some point. Maybe I think I know they're a very good team. I don't think you're never financially gonna. Well, I don't know what Barca look like financially these days, but especially Real, you're never ever gonna challenge them financially. But certainly you can. Upset things, get into Europe via cup. You get into Europe via the league, but maybe via cups and stuff like that. But I think it's interesting.
That would be the plan, really.
Yeah, the buy low, sell high idea.
Yes.
Obviously, some of these players may have already been moved on, but say for argument's sake, you are selling the likes of Patino for 10 million. You've then got to somehow find. I don't know, use that money to chuck at the wage budget to bring in a couple of top free agents or sign 2 or 3 players for sort of 4 or 5 million a piece, and that's how you're going to sort of build the squad. But I'm intrigued. I mean, the loan window is obviously going to be a big one for you. I think in the first few.
That'll be huge for this. Yeah, definitely.
Have you managed to keep Ali Cho as a spoiler or not?
No, I didn't manage to keep him. They wanted to bring him back, and then they wanted him to try something different, and he was way out of my price range, so. Couldn't do that. Again, unfortunately, he would have been good to keep around though,
for sure,
because he can play up front or obviously on the right. The loan market is definitely a big one. But normally when I do a save, I have this I'm never okay selling players. If you bring in if I find players myself that I think are really really good, I never want to sell them.
I know you mean. I get that feeling.
So
as well.
I think I want to kind of be okay with the buy low selling high thing. I think to accept that every player has a price, because you can keep all your players and kind of just force your way up the table and all that, but I kind of want to keep a bit of realism about it. Like, this is what would happen if promoted teams or teams on their way up, their players get poached, right? Look at Crystal Palace and Wolves obviously as well, Dave. Like your best players will leave, sadly. So I'm gonna have to be okay with it. But of course, only if the price is right and get some cash into the bank.
Yeah, Joe's very very good at it, and obviously he's not been on the pod in a while, but. Joe always used to say, every player is at a price, regardless of how good they are, regardless if they're your star player. Ultimately, if someone comes in with 100, 150 million, you're going to let them go. But he was good at that. He always, obviously, without seeing every single second of Joe's gameplay, he always seemed to find a good time to sell players at the top, top value and stuff like that as well. And I think for a club in your position at the moment, you probably can't afford to be losing out on 5 or 10 million on players. You are going to have to bite the bullet sometimes. But I think sometimes it's, as a manager, as a player, it makes you a bit more proactive. Like, I've seen it maybe a little bit more over the last 12, 18 months, that if I know there's interest starting in a player, or if I know a certain player is maybe growing quicker than what the club is, almost finding the next player for them. I've done it quite a bit in the Pentagon, to be fair. There was players that I saw maybe on the off chance when I was scouting them, and I thought maybe they're 17, 18, 19, maybe not quite ready for the first team. But for some reason, they'd always, I'd remember them in my head. In Japan, there was one that was bid for my goalkeeper, and I thought, I remember seeing a really good 19, 20-year-old goalkeeper. And at the time, he'd already moved to Newcastle, which I was gutted about. But Newcastle let me loan him. It was a lot more than what I wanted to pay for a loan, but he was very, very good. And ultimately, we won the Champions League, and I didn't have to worry about it then. So I think that's all you're going to have to probably do, be a bit more proactive.
It's succession planning, right? Like Brighton do this in real life. They're really good at it. They're okay losing a player for 40, 50 million because they know they've got the next 40, 50 million player coming through. So it also keeps the save fresh, as you said. It keeps it a bit realistic. Yeah. Because let's say if I've got some worldly player, at my level, like in real life, other clubs are going to come in from. That's just how it works. So, and like that, like we mentioned Charlie Patino there, even though I didn't sign him. If I got 10 million for him, I could do so much with that 10 million in this squad. It would just unlock. So if I had a couple of players like that, if I can raise 15, 20 million in cash, then then I can actually reinvest it and not get relegated immediately as I've gone up.
Yeah.
Which would be nice.
There's other ways to do it, but I suppose in your position it'd be cash flow and stuff, but where you almost buy in someone that's maybe 6 to 12 months off being first team regular, obviously you're sort of, future first team player and stuff like that, and bringing them in, trying to give them, brief appearances here and there, and then the next summer, say, if you want to, you are in a position to sell maybe that star player, and then you've already got your ready-made replacement in there. That's what some clubs have tended to do as well. Brighton, they're an easy example to make, but they've done it before where they've brought players in, loaned them out maybe for a year. We'll probably see it with Barco. I was surprised he was let go, but you'll probably see Brighton move somebody on in January or the summer, and then Barco's ready-made replacement to walk straight back into the team. But no, it makes it fresh. I'm interested to see how it goes, Mad. Because there are people out there.
And look, as I said, the main thing, just enjoying playing the game again. Because the last save I was doing was the South Shields that time, and I think I looked at the last time I played it. It was July. Wow. So that's a long time for me not to play FM because I like FM, but I just fallen out of it. So as I said, I just wanted to pick it up and start enjoying it again. And that season was just quite eventful that I ended up writing a little blog on it too. So I've named the save, actually, Dave. I've named the save La Resurrección, which is probably Spanish for the resurrection. So
I was going to call it Republic of Coruña or Republic of Deportivo. That's going to be the pod title probably. So your little Irish links. No, that's cool. I like that as well because I'd love for you at some point within the next few seasons to find like an Irish new gen, whether it's free or youth intake, and
that'd be and like a good one as well. Because sometimes you can get a player through and they're absolutely terrible, but if they're actually good, it just lights the whole save.
Homegrown Irish,
never
5-star. Yeah.
I've never had a son in game. You've never had that, have you?
I was gonna say no. I've never had that as well. That used to be a way out. No. I've not seen it for years. I've not even heard it really be a thing. But that would be amazing. It used to have to be at a club for a certain amount of time and be a certain age, I think. But I would love to know if anyone's listening, if that is still a thing, because I've not heard of that for ages.
I think it still happens. Did I see Tony Jameson might have had it at some point? I can't remember, but
imagine the look if you got a son and they were 5-star, just unbelievable.
Oh man, I'd never stop talking about it. I'd never stop sending pictures of it to do.
I don't think I'd ever stop playing that game. I think I'd have to play that game until my son retired.
Until he grows up.
Yeah. To be fair, I still haven't tried to sign him or anything. My new gen on the Penty was the best in one of my games. I have seen him, very good. 90% of the time he's playing in non-league and he's dreadful. But to see him on my own save play for Real Madrid, be one of the best players for England is amazing. But I haven't really signed him much. I looked to sign him, I think, when I was at United, when I won the Champions League, but I've not really looked. I don't even know where he's playing now, to be fair. He's
not come through in my game yet, anyway. No. Young Dave as a party, no.
Yeah, a little update on the Penty. I played a little bit this week. Got through. Obviously, I've already said I've got through the Copa Libertadores groups. First knockout round looks pretty favourable for me. So I've just got to get through a bunch of games. It started the league season quite brightly. I think I'm 5 or 6 league games in, and won every single one at the moment. So it's difficult. I'm playing like a very consistent 11, and a few players are starting to get a bit unhappy with that. But ultimately, if I'm winning games, I don't want to chop and change it too much. I've got players that are in that team that I'm trusting at the moment, so we'll wait and see. But I need inspiration for a new save because ultimately there is going to be a time, and I know I probably said it in like March or April that I'm going to finish a save, but I am still here. But there is going to be a time in the near future that I complete this save, and although I am enjoying the network we do, I will probably have to play another save on the side as well. So if anyone's got any ideas, I love the idea. Obviously, I'm not going to do Deportivo. I like that idea of like a sleeping or fallen giant sort of thing. I am intrigued. There's little bits that I like the sound of, like a youth academy challenge, which I've mentioned before. But the way I want to do it, I think, is a lot more suited to live content creation, whether it be YouTube or Twitch. And I just haven't, if I'm completely honest, I just haven't got the time to sit down and do that at the moment. Saying that, I could do it as a YouTube save and upload it on 5-Star Pod. I could do that and get us some more content on YouTube. So, That's sort of sparked ideas. I've thought of
You need to
something, maybe.
save. You need to get the save first, though, right? I think
Yeah, of course, yeah.
like if let's say Dave, Crystal Palace beat Wolves at the weekend, and Gary O'Neill loses his job, would
I
you be
can't do
tempted by
another wall
it?
save.
When's the
I'll
last
just
time you
become
did a
a
good
meme.
one? You already are a meme.
Yeah.
Otherwise, from a fallen giant perspective, like I mean, you've got like I mentioned Schalke there. They're a really good example. Valencia are having a terrible time in IRL at the moment. So
Yeah.
like they're another.
That's
I mean,
ownership.
they're
As
already
well.
La
Where
Liga, but
Schalke? Well, Schalke
Yeah.
dropped to the second division, have they?
they were. I don't know if they got promoted again. They are no. They're still.
Still in there.
They're way down actually. Yeah, are they? Best known for football. I'm just trying to see what division they're in.
They'll probably
Second
be
Bundesliga. Yeah.
Zweite Bundesliga. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They again. They were
So
great.
that could be an
They were
interesting
in
one.
European competition, weren't they? In the not
Absolutely, yeah. Champions League, all the
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
lot, yeah. And they've had some serious players. But even as there's is it like Kaiserslautern? They used to be.
You know what?
They were in Europe.
I'm glad you mentioned Germany because I've mentioned Germany maybe a couple of times, but 1860 Munich, which I know Dupe's done, and I know many people have done before. I did that save, big YouTube save of mine years ago, and I love that. I really love that. So Germany might be a place that I revisit. To be fair, just picking a team.
It's like it's a good league because let's say with the Spanish league, Real Madrid and Barcelona are just way out ahead of everyone. Obviously now you've got Bayern Munich over there, but at least in real life, it's leveling out a little bit. Like you've got Leverkusen there, RB Leipzig are going well.
Dortmund, obviously,
even
still
like the
okay.
likes of Frankfurt are decent now. So it's a bit more leveled out, I would say. So you've been with a chance. I think Duke tried to do that before, didn't he? Have 1816. He was trying to topple Bayern, but it was very hard to do.
I did okay with them. I don't know if I ever broke it to Europe, but I had such a good time. It's wet. This is how long ago it was. Ivica Olic was still playing, and so I had a front two.
Yeah.
I was playing a 4-4-1-1. Ivica Olic and Kuki. The year Kuki was the one. Remember Kuki, the Spanish wonder kid. So
Yes.
God, that's maybe 16, 17 FM.
Yeah. I remember that. Wow.
Yeah.
Golden days.
Oh, those were the days. We can't complain, but
Oh, one other thing I spotted, Dave, and made me think of you actually. Fabio Silva is playing for Las Palmas now
Palmas, IRL, yeah.
in real life.
Yeah.
I totally missed that.
He started
They're
off
an
quite
interesting team,
Yeah, Ollie McBurney. Well, it's funny because I think he scored.
Scott McKenna.
Where he's scored a couple of goals already, but I think he's played 6 games. He got 4 bookings already, and like I saw an interview that he did, and he says like the referee in here, it's so soft. Like they will give a booking for absolutely nothing. Yeah, so I'll be intrigued to see your numbers. Maybe maybe this time next week if you finish your second season. See your numbers of the bookings and maybe compare it in game to like the Premier League to see if it reflects that same sort of way.
I might actually have a look.
Yeah,
because I don't think I've been too bad. Like, I think I got 1 or maybe 2 red cards in the first season. Not a whole lot considering.
Yeah, he's a bit
Missed
of
a lot of penalties,
erratic. Maybe that I don't know. Yeah, erratic player. Like he gets himself about a little bit, and he can be a bit of a drama queen, Fabio. So that probably he has no future at Wolves. I think there will be a time where, unless he has an unbelievable season, his FM attributes will start to seriously slow down as well. I don't think he's as good as what he once was.
Failed wonder kid.
I still think he'll have a very decent professional career, just not as good as what people thought 5 or 6 years ago, unfortunately.
Exactly, yeah.
So
It's a pity.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to see if you can get him in on your save.
I can keep an eye on him anyway. I wonder I'll just have a look and see, because he's on loan there, right? For the first season. Fabio Silva. Yeah, he's back at Wolves now in between the seasons, let's say.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's going to get any game time for Wolves, but he's still got good attributes, man. He's still a good striker.
I think on FM he's good as well. Yeah, exactly.
Might have to chance a little loan for Fabio Silva, Dave. Have a word with the
Wolves.
Wolves
This time
guys.
next week, I want to hear that you got him and he's bagged you a Copa del Rey win or something like that. So
I don't know if I'll be able to afford the man. He's getting what's he get paid? It says he's on €36,000 a week. That's definitely higher than any of my players.
Your
anyway,
budget?
for sure.
Yeah. Well,
mine is. I think my highest is about 18 or something.
That's the one thing with saves like this as well. Is like for about 12 months you're really disciplined with that. Like you do, and gradually you get better and better. And he's like, right, my highest earner's still on 20-25 grand a week, and then there's someone that is unbelievable that wants about 60 grand a week. And you're like, shit, do I break the budget to bring him in? So,
and you're like at this, like with let's say I have whatever, I think about 200,000 whatever budget there to spend. Like that's 10 players on 20 grand a week. Like so that's the numbers are that small. Like so, if I let go of a player who's on 8 grand a week, that actually frees up cash for me. So that's the kind of that's where we're at for the time being.
If you're selling someone for millions, and then instead of using that millions to buy a player, chuck it onto the wage budget, but
bulk it up, because even like the scouting budget, I've only got so much I can spend. So I'm doing a lot of like manual scouting and just going team to team and the old school like just trawling through the Croatian league, randomly looking for wonder kids.
Right click, media description, wonder kid, and go for all the under 21s teams. Those were the days, man.
Or you're looking, you see the players that are already wanted, and you're just hovering over the wanted, and you're hoping it's like Man United.
I used to do that as a bit of inspiration. I go on the Premier League and go on. If you hover over news and click transfer rumours, it will come up with players they're linked with, and you think, they must be half decent if
if they're looking at them.
Rogue way of doing it, but it's quite good. Just enjoy that, man. I'm enjoying. Hopefully, you can give us a bit more of an update again, maybe on season 2. But when are you looking to bring out the blog post, just so people are aware? I'll make sure I link it in the podcast description as well.
I could put it out anytime, really. I think it's ready to go. I just hadn't published it. I'll probably, what day is today? It's Thursday's recording. Maybe I'll put it out on the Friday, Dave.
Sweet. So it'll be out by the time the pod's out.
Or else I'll just, I'll put it out the day of the pod. How's that?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, makes sense. No problem.
And then we'll just smash people with blogs and me talking for an hour about Deportivo La Coruña and a bunch of Irish lads.
Looking forward to it, and looking forward to an update. Fingers crossed next week as well. But I think that is all. 52 minutes of us talking about Football Manager. But like I said, if anyone's got any thoughts on a potential save-up idea for me, I would love to. If it's for the pod channel, I would love to do some sort of YouTube content, get some more content out on the pod channel, get some more eyes on the podcast as well. But if you've got any ideas or things that you maybe want to see, whether it's for my save idea or whether it's on the podcast itself, be sure to get in touch with us. Probably the best way is either by Twitter. If you are listening on Spotify as well, you can comment on the podcast, I believe, and we can see those as well. So if you want to do that, obviously, it's a big help. But that does bring episode 377 to a close. You can find the links for us two in the podcast description down below, or by visiting 5starpotential.com, which obviously is in the description down below as well. You can find us on obviously YouTube and all popular podcast apps and platforms with a new podcast released every single Monday. Man, thank you for joining me. It was great to have you back, mate. And I'll fingers crossed I'll catch you next week.
Great to be back. Absolutely. I shall see you then, hopefully with another season completed and not relegated.
Cheers, man. Fingers crossed. You'll be fine.